PUDcast is written before a live studio audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PUDcast with Jason and Mike. I'm Jason.
I'm Mike.
And we're coming to you from the PUDcave, located here in Game Swap in beautiful downtown Lincoln in the great state of North Carolina. But Mikey, brother, it's really not that beautiful this morning. It's nasty. It's raining out there, man. But it's beautiful in the cave, bro.
It is. It's nice and cozy.
It's nice and cozy. And, brother, we get to welcome back somebody to the PUDcave.
Absolutely.
Somebody ain't been in here in a little while. You know, we had a little hiatus. We kind of had a little vacation, a little break, whatever you want to call it. And we got to finally get the man back in here today. And Wayne Sisk.
Yes.
Wayne Sisk is back once
right.
again. Yo, woo!
All right.
Wayno.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Please sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
Wayne, man, it's good to have you back. How you been doing, brother?
I've been doing great, guys. It's good to see you. I've been glad you got back. I've been listening to the cast. Y'all been getting into it. I've been enjoying it.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you. Well, you know, Wayne, today, man, obviously we're going to be talking about music. We're going to be talking about Warren Zevon. Well, maybe not.
You know how it goes.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, I understand.
But, you know, Wayne, we were actually just talking about our wrestling show that we're doing for L-Town Radio, the weekly wrestling wrap-up. And, brother, that's a hard one.
Roy Howdy.
Roy Howdy. That one's rough.
Oh, man.
But on the weekly wrestling update, we're not going to go into it now because it'll actually be coming out Saturday or Sunday night, and this should be released Sunday afternoon if all goes well. But we were talking about the Jim Cornette controversy. We're talking about some jokes. We're talking about some things that maybe were said in bad taste, maybe not. You'll have to check out that show if you want to know what our take on it. But Wayne, you started talking about some bad jokes.
Well, when we used to have Discworks, we used to do contests to see the world's worst joke. And we finally came down to this one that Scott Beal, our old buddy Scott, used to tell. And we judged it as to be probably the worst joke in the world. So it goes like this. A little old lady walking on the beach with her 4-year-old grandson, just happy as all get out. And all of a sudden a rogue wave comes in and just washes her and the little boy out to sea. Now, she can't find him. She's on the beach, and she just gets down on her knees and prays, "Oh, Lord, I've been a good woman all my life. Please bring my little grandson back to me." Next thing you know, a big wave comes in and drops the little boy unharmed right at her feet. She looks up at the sky and goes, "He had a hat."
Damn it, man. Hey, y'all want to hear, I think, the worst joke ever told?
Yeah, I do.
My dad actually told me this joke once. When you're going to hear it, man, you're going to be like, what? All right, man, there was this little old lady, and she's walking her dog. And this guy comes up and says, "Hey, that's a pretty dog. What's his name?" She says, "Porky." "Porky? Why you call him Porky?" "Because he likes to fuck pigs."
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah, man, my dad told me that. I was a little older, man. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't a kid, but I was to this day.
Well,
man.
I didn't think he'd have you in there at 5. Listen to this one, son.
Yeah. Did you hear about the Did you hear about the $5 hooker? Yeah, this guy goes up, gets some, and comes back the next week and says, "Hey, you gave me crab." She's like, "Dude, it was $5. What'd you want, lobster?"
Nasty.
Oh, God.
So as y'all can tell, the Custom for the Kids campaign is over. Yeah. We're no longer doing that.
All right, this was one of my entries for the worst joke. This guy's in a locker room changing clothes after he's worked out, and he sees a buddy over there, and he's got this huge cork shoved up his rear end. He said, "Hey, man, what's that?" He said, "I found Aladdin's lamp on the beach. I rubbed it, and a genie came out and said, 'I'll give you 3 wishes.' I said, 'No shit.'"
Oh, my God, man. Oh, my God. Hey, Mike, you got one, man? I mean, I don't know where to go from there, man. Dude, that should went best joke.
It should.
Oh, my God, man.
I think you swerved us on
Dude,
that
he
one.
swerved us bad, man.
The one I got is a clean joke. You ever tried Wookiee meat?
No.
It's chewy.
Oh, God. Hey, why don't cannibals eat clowns? Because they taste funny.
All right. There's one joke. There's one joke that you always had. You told me for the first time. And it never gets old. It's about the leprechaun.
Oh, shit, man. Okay, you want me to tell it?
Oh, my God.
Okay, fuck it. Because like I said, man, we're not doing the Custom for the Kids. All right. Well, there's this guy, man, and he was just really down on his luck, man. He was sick, so he got really sick. And so he got so sick, man, he ended up losing his job. And when he lost his job, man, he lost his wife. She was like, I'm leaving you, blah, blah, blah. So, well, man, he ends up, he's hating it, man. So he gets up one night. He can't sleep. Like I say, he's sick. He's depressed. He's broke. He's lonely. Well, he starts riding around. Well, he has to go to the bathroom, man. So he ends up stopping at this rest area. Well, he goes into the stall, and lo and behold, in front of him was a damn leprechaun. He was like, holy shit. And the leprechaun said, oh, you found me. It's like 3 a.m, The leprechaun's, oh, you found me. He's like, this is the only time I can get out, 3 a.m, He was like, well, how you get to 3 wishes? And the guy was like, well, man, I want my health, I want my woman, I want my job back. I loved all 3 of them. And the leprechaun's like, all right, well, as soon as I get done fucking you up the ass, you can have them all. And the guy's like, wait, what? And he was like, well, yeah, that's part of the legends that they don't tell you. He's like, when you find a leprechaun, you get to 3 wishes, but you gotta let me have sex with you. You gotta let me fuck you in the ass. And the guy was like, man, at this point, I'm willing to try anything, man. I mean, he was bad, man. So the guy lets him do it. So, this leprechaun proceeds to start fucking this guy in the ass. And the guy looks back and says, God damn, man, I can't believe I'm letting you fuck me in the ass. And the leprechaun says, God damn, man, I can't believe you think I'm a fucking leprechaun. So anyway, now would be a good time to tell your kids not to listen.
So this episode is sponsored by Copa.
Yeah, man, we're probably not going to post this one on the LinkedIn site. Might be, yeah. We'll go ahead and cut this one out, man. Like I said, the Custom for the Kids campaign is gone, man. But damn, dude, I didn't mean for it to go like that, man. That's on Mike. Hey, I got one more for you. If we're going to tell like really dirty, bad jokes, man, and I told
like one clean joke.
He's told one joke.
One joke.
You can't blame it on Mike.
Clean.
Oh, this one's
cleaner than Skeeter's Peter.
Well, this one's going to pretty much rank with the other one, man. So there's this hitchhiker, right? And he's going down the road. This truck driver picks him up, man. When he gets in, he notices that the truck driver's got a monkey. He was like, oh, shit, was that your pet monkey? He was like, yeah, man. He was like, cool. He was like, does he do any tricks? And truck driver's like, I taught him one trick. Truck driver pulls back, slaps the shit out of this monkey, man. I mean, he slaps this monkey square in the face. Monkey kind of comes to, and he goes over to the truck driver and gives the truck driver a blowjob. The hitchhiker's like, holy shit, man. He don't know what to think, man. So they go down the road a few miles, and the hitchhiker's still like, damn, dude. And truck driver's like, hey, you want to see that joke, or you want to see that trick again? And hitchhiker's like, damn, I guess, man. I don't know, But so the truck driver reaches back, slaps the ever living shit out of this monkey, man. Bam! Monkey goes over to the truck driver, gives him a blowjob. Hitchhiker's like, damn, dude, I ain't never seen no shit like that before. So they go down the road, and the truck driver's like, hey, man, you want to give it a try? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, man, just don't slap me so hard. Damn it, man.
Oh, man.
Well, guys, I think maybe now would be a good time to go into
more about Warren Zevon.
Warren Zevon.
Speaking of which, Wayne, I want to thank you publicly again, man. Wayne brought me a hellacious gift today, man. Something awesome, man. He brought me a Warren Zevon T-shirt, dude. It's like I was telling Wayne, I don't know if I want to wear it or frame it, dude. Like seriously, right. I mean, I'm thinking about framing it and putting it up here in the cave, man, because it's a cool ass shirt, man.
It's yours. You can do what you want with it, man.
Brother, just thank you. I'll tell you again, man. That was really awesome, man. Thank you for doing that.
I've been reading up. I don't know if you saw. I put on Facebook the 2 books I got about Warren just recently. 2 new books about him. One of them is a great book that takes you through every album and how he wrote and how he came up with certain things.
Dude.
And the other one is just a second-hand volume. I mean, I don't know how to say it. This guy was not a Warren Zevon confidant, but he is a biographer who wrote a really good sort of objective biography, not like his wife did or anybody else did. He's basically saying, how it would be written if it was done like, as an impartial observer.
Right.
And it's good. It brings up a lot of things that, that the family, not that they didn't want to sell, but that it's just, they didn't think it was necessary.
And let me ask you this one, because I haven't read any of these books, but the one by his wife, I'm sure was biased.
Well, it was basically written off of his journals.
Okay.
And she would take like a page from his journal where he would say, went to the studio, decided to quit cigarettes today, stopped and got a pack of cigarettes today. Just that's how he wrote stuff in his journals.
Right.
And a lot of people I found that are very creative do that. They write journals to themselves, and Warren did it, and that's how she basically did it. She didn't sit there and say, "This is how my life with Warren was."
I see. I got you.
She basically said, "This is what was happening, and this is how I remember it."
Got you.
She got some quotes from people like Jackson Brown and Waddy Watchell and Linda Ronstadt in there. You know, all the people that knew him back then to basically fill in blanks. And I've been reading, you know, I read some, the guy who was doing the biography really talked to Waddy about him.
Right.
We can pretty much safely say that if it wasn't for Waddy and Jackson Brown, Warren would have never had any career.
Exactly.
Any at all.
Because Waddy was his guitarist for the most part.
And he also was one of the guys who basically helped him steer him away from some of the, I mean, he was a nightmare in the studio. I mean,
I've heard that.
I think we can pretty much say that, you know, a lot of talented people are just a bit dense as far as how they treat other people.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure, man.
And Warren was one of those. But Waddy was one of the type of guys that, you know, he basically didn't put up with his shit.
Right.
I apologize if I said that.
Oh no, dude. Oh, obviously no, man. No, man. We're
But I'm basically saying, you know, that Waddy was the one that basically said, you know, and he was the one that Jackson Brown would go. And Warren's first single, you know, that went big was Werewolves of London.
Correct, right.
Waddy was the one that recommended that, and Warren didn't want it.
Really?
No, he wanted Jeannie Needs a New Shooter.
Okay, yeah, which I love that song.
I love that song, but it's not a hit. I mean, I love it. And a lot of good songs are not hits.
True.
They don't have that hook.
Right.
We can all agree Werewolves of London has the hook.
It absolutely does. And, you know, Wayne, it's funny, a friend of mine was talking about that on Facebook the other week because I am a little bit of a Zevon snob.
Exactly.
You know, we've talked. That's probably, honestly, my least favorite song by him.
It is. I mean, you know, I like it. But, I mean,
Sure.
I'm not going to sit there and and if I'm going to listen to Warren, I'm not going to sit there and say, Little Werewolves of London would be good right now.
Thank you. I'm
Although there is a version, I think I've told you about it, on a British TV show where he did it with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah. You were telling me about that. I still have not watched that
If you
yet.
find that on YouTube, I don't know if I've still got it linked up or something, not, but it was an awesome version of that song.
I would like to definitely see that because I've heard him play it just on piano, just him, you know, like when we went to see him that time, you know. But yeah, you know, Wayne, you make a good point. I've also heard Warren was a nightmare to work with.
Yeah, and the drinking. I mean, we know the drinking was just, I don't want to say paramount in his life, but it was a huge deal to him. I mean, he was a, let's say, terrible alcoholic.
Yeah. I mean, the way I've understood it, and can be downright abusive the way I understand.
Right.
Like, you know, I've heard stuff from his wife too, saying that, you know,
and we're not excusing it in any way, but we are saying that a lot of people, and you and I and Scott and Mike and all of us talked about, you know, how very talented people have these very tortured minds.
Absolutely.
And whether it's they're trying to, you know, kill it with drugs or alcohol,
right.
They are the ones that are having to deal with all these thoughts in their head. And it's just, part of their unfortunate personality part.
And, you know, man, Mike, me and you just talked about it a couple of weeks ago about artists in general and how, you know, I think we were talking about The Thing, actually.
Yes.
I believe that was that
was
episode.
a great episode, guys.
Thank you.
I love that
man.
movie, too.
Dude, like I said, I just watched it for the first time, and I was blown away by it.
It was a great... I saw it at the theater up
here.
First run.
Wayne, you're telling how old y'all here, brother. You're putting your age out there now.
I was a child at the time.
I was yet to be conceived. Yeah, no.
I drove up there illegally.
You're too old to be driving. No.
Yeah.
Hey,
now.
Wait a minute.
But
I would love to have seen that on the big screen.
I would have.
It was awesome.
I wish they'd re-release that. Honestly,
it was so funny. The Kurt Russell character, McCready, the way he looked at that particular, with the beard and the hair, I had a buddy named Bob, looked just like him, I swear.
Right?
And if he'd had that big hat, I said, Bob, I'm going to get you a big hat like that, just because you need to look like McCready.
You can take him around with you, you know.
But like I say, it talking about artists and The Thing and stuff like that, you can see the way that some people have to deal with. I mean, they're creative, but they have to deal with their other selves, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. And I've always said, man, to be a good horror writer like Stephen King or like John Carpenter, you know, with the directing and stuff, man, I mean, you're definitely thinking differently than the normal average everyday person.
Right.
I mean, and it's there's definitely that balance of interacting with people and also being your creative self, because I don't see how those both can really coexist without drugs or alcohol. I mean, it makes sense. It really does make sense that you gotta, I guess you gotta numb yourself, like you were just saying, man. You know, you gotta numb those thoughts. And I guess, man, I'm kind of talking in circles here too, but
no, I mean, you know, and we've talked about this before about artists and their albums, and we're going to talk about this some more. Their music seems to be better or more driven, more passionate when there is that alcohol or drugs involved.
Absolutely. I don't care what anybody says, man. When they get clean, their album, the music sucks, man. I mean, it really does. It really does, man.
And an artist who's on their way up, who's struggling, is so much better than the established. And you know, I've got cash and I can buy whatever I want to now.
Right. Yes, and I also do. I think it's a pendulum though, because I think it can also swing back. You know, let's look at Ozzy. You know, with Sabbath, because you know, I actually today I want to talk a little bit about debut albums today.
Right.
And I got a reason for that, and we'll get to that in a minute. But even as you saw, like Sabbath, for instance, as his drug and alcohol problems got worse, the music did start suffering there toward the end.
Well, there's like you say, there's a fine line, and the alcohol can either propel you or it can drag you down.
Yes. And I think the fame comes along with that too, Wayne, like you were just saying. I think when you add that superstardom with the drugs and alcohol, then is when it can suffer. In other words, man, when you're on the way up using the drugs and alcohol, well, you're still struggling, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You still have that passion. But I think once you start getting burned out, because you got to get burned out.
Well, there's the old saying, you know, that you only get a pearl from an oyster if it's got sand in it.
Amen.
And the irritation the drive, the pain drives you, and you're either trying to prove it to yourself, you're trying to prove it to your family, or you're trying to prove it to your ex-girlfriend. You've got to push forward, and then once you've done that, you have to, and some artists can do it. Look to a new motivator, something that will keep you on that. I mean, there are a lot of artists that can do it. I mean, to a degree, Springsteen has done.
I was just going to bring up Bruce Springsteen. I think that's a prime example,
because and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, you know, when he was in his prime, do you know how many movie offers he got?
I'm sure, man.
And he turned them all down because he basically said, "I'm not an actor."
Right.
And there are artists out there who do acting now, and I think it, and you know, far be it from me to judge, I think it diminishes their music. I really do.
Yeah, I think it depends, but I think overall, I tend to agree. Except if we're talking about Ozzy when he was in Trick or Treat. Now,
well, that's a whole other issue.
That's a little different story there.
We're talking Ozzy here.
Yeah, that's a whole different character in itself.
But you know. And like I say, I think that the I think that the artists in themselves, you know, and like you said, when and we can think about some of the best debut albums, like you were saying, and what makes people, you know, put everything into that one album. It's their one shot.
It's their shot.
It's that they've got everything. Yeah. They throw it all against it and they see what sticks.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that I had that thought just yesterday, because I was working on some of the artwork, and I was like, well, you know, how many more Warren Zevon pictures are out there? And I'm like, well, you know, I haven't done his first album cover yet.
Right.
So I pulled it up, and it looks really cool in the artwork. I'm like, well, hey, man, maybe we should just, because I know the last Zevon show, we had his live album. We talked about live albums.
And that's still a good one.
I thought that was a really great episode, and that's a great album. And so I was like, hey, let's just talk about some debut albums. I mean, So, Michael, I'm gonna start with you, brother. What's some of your favorite debut albums?
I mean, I think it goes without saying. You already mentioned it. Black Sabbath's
first
debut
Black Sabbath.
Absolutely. I mean, that hit hard.
Nobody had ever heard anything like that.
No.
But not my favorite Sabbath album.
Really?
It's really, in fact, to be honest with you, and I'm gonna probably cause a little controversy here, it's probably my least favorite of those first 6 albums.
Okay.
It really is. I don't know why, man. That album just doesn't speak to me like Volume 4 or Master of Reality is probably my favorite Sabbath album, and that was the third album. But the first one, man, I don't know. It's innovative.
There's just so much doom.
It's very doom and gloom. Yeah,
I mean,
it's scary.
It was like somebody opened up the gates of hell and released this album.
The first song on that, Black Sabbath, is a scary, scary song.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe that what's it called, the Devil's Tritone or something? Mm-hmm. That thing is played was actually banned like in medieval times because they said it summoned demons.
Right.
And that's how they opened up their album. Once again, man, not my favorite Sabbath album, but I think as far as a debut goes, to just hit the ground running we're changing. I mean, and that came out in 1970, dude.
Yes.
Early 1970.
Right. Yes.
Nothing like that had been out. And but Coven actually had come out around the same time. They actually had an Ozzy Osbourne in their band as well. I think it was the bass player. But dude, you can't even compare.
No.
I mean, because Coven tried to have that evil, or mystic, occultish type vibe too. But man, the music itself was not even remotely close to Sabbath. And but Mike. I mean, I definitely agree with you as far as the debut and change. Dude, Sabbath changed everything.
Yes.
They changed the whole game, man. They changed they created genres, not a genre, genres. And still to this day, I can put on Sabbath and, I mean, like I said, I put on Masters of Reality now. Man.
I mean, you look at hard rock, you look at heavy metal, you look at doom metal, you look at goth metal. Grunge. Yeah. It all stems from, it all stems from Sabbath.
Sabbath, man. Sabbath was the seed, Wayne, what about you? What's what's a debut album that really comes to mind for you?
Well, like you said, the debut album of Warren's was not spectacular,
but it was good.
It was very good.
There's some great songs on that
and but the thing of it was, I don't think he had really decided which way he was going to go.
I
mean, this is a guy who played with the Righteous Brothers, and he also did some folk music, which I still find hard to believe.
Yeah, but it was good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
But then when you think about something like a debut album, you think about the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Oh man, that and like you say, it was like an Ozzy thing because it was taking it into a new direction.
Completely different.
I love the Beatles, and I have the Beatles album. I think it's good. I really do. But when the Stones came along, it's like there was a comedian on television. He said one time, the Beatles are supposedly the epitome of success in rock and roll. He said, but if you want to know the truth, he said the Rolling Stones are the Beatles of rock and roll.
Rock and roll, man,
because they are so deep and talented in that.
Yeah.
And Mick and the boys and all that. I mean, their debut album was just incredible to me.
Yes.
But then again, you think about something like, I don't know if you can remember like Boston's first album.
I'm actually going to bring up Boston. I was going to bring up that album
because that was an eye opener right there.
Yes.
I mean, that to me was a great album.
What I found really cool about that is even in the liner notes, they say in the liner notes that, hey, this is their first album. Right. They knew that they had something special.
Right.
And I'm a Boston fan. I mean, to me, Boston is classic rock.
And you guys will have to forgive me because my brain is not working. I can't come up with titles right now.
Brother, you might be in the wrong place.
I remember the albums. I'm sitting there going, what in the hell was that name? But like I say, I can remember the albums and the how I felt. The Jackson Browne debut album.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar.
That's a good one. I mean, and Brown has, like I say, we've talked about the fact that he influenced Warren so much because he was, despite all his problems, was professional in the studio, and that's what brought Warren around basically. And I think that and Linda Ronstadt, when she got Warren up and going, she was able to help him more, I think, because of her star status.
Sure, right. She already had that name out there.
Exactly.
Right.
And you think about somebody like her who just was a great singer and a great personality on stage. She was so pretty that people just, if she said, hey, try this guy Warren, hey, we will.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing like that. But you look at something like with Jackson Browne, and you look at like the Stones, CCR.
CCR is a great example, man. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's just like I say, when you can hear the first time off of them, and you say, like you say, they've changed the game.
Yes,
or they've upped the game.
They upped it. They leveled it up.
Right. That's when you've got some great debut albums of people. A lot of people don't fall into that what they call the sophomore slump. Their second album.
Yeah, exactly.
Just going straight to the bargain.
Yeah, I was going to say the $5 bin.
Yeah.
Well, the 99-cent bin now.
Well, yeah. But I mean, it's like I say, I think that a lot of people will put a lot of their heart and soul into a particular first album.
Right.
And I think that's when you get some of the truest forms of their music and stuff.
Because I think you hit on it a little earlier, Wayne, because to a lot of these bands, it's like, hey, this is all or nothing. If we don't hit it out of the park,
right,
we may not have that second album. They may drop us.
Which in the early days, I think it was more prevalent than it is now, because now they can produce their own content and sell it themselves.
Right.
This is a whole new era, and I don't think many people have taken advantage of it as they should.
As they should be. Man, when I think of debut albums, I have a few that come to mind. Obviously you brought up Boston. I was wanting to bring up Boston as well.
Right.
Because to me, like I said, when I hear Boston, I just think classic rock. I mean, that is classic rock radio. I mean, More Than a Feeling, Amanda, which wasn't on the debut album, but Long Time, was on there. But I'll tell you a couple more bands that I really put out there. One is, and I'm a huge Leonard Skinner fan, pronounced Leonard Skinner.
Right.
Man, that has Simple Man, Freebird, Tuesday Is Gone. I mean, that is almost the greatest hits album in itself.
That's incredible.
I mean, really.
It really is.
And you talk about going all or nothing. That was exactly where these guys were, because they came up dirt poor, brother. I mean, they came off the street.
Right.
And that's why I think that reflected hard in their music, especially their debut album.
Right.
That because they'll tell you straight up, man, they were from the, shantytown, as they called it.
Right.
Another band, though, I got to bring up when I talk about debut albums, that's almost the greatest hits album, another one of my big three, and that's Van Halen's first album.
Van Halen.
Dude, I mean, come on, man. Jamie's Crying, Eruption. Could you imagine listening to Eruption when that album first came out for the first time? Could you?
Mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing, brother.
It is.
Absolutely.
The first time I heard it was just like,
what is this?
my God.
What is this? I mean, is that a guitar? I mean,
wow.
And I heard it on the radio, and people had already played it out by the time I heard it. Can you imagine going to the record store back in 1978, people? 1978.
Yeah.
And being like, hey, Van Halen, what's this? And you hear it, and it starts off with Running with the Devil. I mean, man, come on, dude.
It's a great album. It really is.
Once again, and I'm going to tell you another band's debut album that I definitely think we'd be remiss if we don't bring them up. Pearl Jam.
Right.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Dude, Pearl Jam's first album.
We've talked about the 10 album so much and what it meant, but that debut was...
Once again, man, it was mind-blowing.
It was so huge at that time, and it was such a it was a game changer.
It was.
It changed the whole landscape of music at that era,
right,
at that point, where it went away from the commercialism.
Yes.
And your what do we call it? Hair metal.
Your glam metal, like Poison Warrant and all these bands.
It was
Bon Jovi.
But even after that fact, it was more pop hair metal.
You're right, correct, right, absolutely, man. A lot of power ballads were out, which I love power ballads.
They had Trickster. I know you're a huge fan. We'll probably talk about the debut of Trickster.
Don't, man. Man, that's wrong, bro. That's really wrong of you. You and your Firehouse.
No, I know you and your Firehouse.
Oh boy.
Anybody going to mention Rat?
I have seen.
Hey, I love Rat now. Hey, easy on Rat.
I've seen your Facebook post. I've seen your power ballad.
I love power ballads.
I know your playlist.
I love it, man.
And
Come on.
I know Firehouse is on there.
Come on, man. That's good stuff.
I know it. So don't tell me about no
Don't
Trickster,
treat me bad.
And don't tell me
Come
about
on,
no
man.
Slaughter or no
Fly to the Angels. Come on, man.
no Firehouse.
Oh,
nothing.
Firehouse was off the chain, bro.
Listen,
Hey, I like that music. I do like that music.
Pearl Jam at 10 wiped away that nastiness of what was happening at that time. It was like the dry erase.
It wiped up the shit, man.
The nastiness. I like that one.
Yeah. Dude, some of that music's okay, man. Come on now. But no, I do agree, man. And dude, you had Nirvana and you had Soundgarden. You had these bands too, but their debuts, even though Soundgarden's debut was Bad Motor for No, there was an album before that that didn't hit on as much.
Right.
Nirvana's debut,
Bleach,
I think was a much better album than Nevermind.
I was
me personally,
right.
As far as the numbers wise,
I can see that because the Bleach had again, like you say, it was, to me, the first Nirvana album with Bleach was just like saying, okay, this is new.
Yeah,
more punk kind of oriented.
But
too,
like I said, you could, and I hate to use this word because it's overused, but it's angst in there.
But no, that's the truth.
And that's what you got to have for some of that kind of music, especially grunge music. You got to have angst.
Absolutely.
All right, let's travel backwards. 2 debut albums I think you need to talk about. One being Kiss.
Yeah, man. I mean, how can you not? Absolutely,
I mean,
brother. Yeah.
Out the gate, that's holy crap.
Yeah, man. You're right.
These guys are Kiss.
And it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once again, kind of a game changer, man.
It is.
It really was.
It was. It really was.
Even for what it became
later on, right.
But that debut, that first initial out, and even into more albums afterwards. But that initial out was like, oh God,
almost the greatest hits.
Wow, this is heavy stuff. This is
different.
Crazy. This is scary. This is cool.
Yeah, and it's cool, man.
Yeah.
How many of the albums that you, like you say, you talk about that our debut that do end up being like a greatest hits?
Yeah,
right.
Because like we said, that's what they're putting their best effort into. They're saying this is our, back then, this is our shot. This is our only shot.
And you're also thinking about these bands that have probably been playing the club scene and been rehearsing for years. So how
many do you think just do that? Travel, hit, road, play.
And they said that about Sabbath. They said they recorded that album in a day. And everybody's like, because it sounds almost mystical in a way. They made this whole album in a day. But Ozzy will be like, well, man, we've been playing these songs for years on the road.
Exactly.
He's like, we knew them when we went in.
Yeah, you don't want to burn it up on more than one take. And when you get it right, you get it right.
You get it right, you know. And I tell you, man, I almost an entire genre, because once again, man, I've got to bring this up as far as debut albums go. A lot of hip-hop artists that came out, their first albums were off the charts, man. I look at NWA, Straight Outta Compton.
Right.
You can look at Dr. Dre, The Chronic. Right. That was his first. Now, granted, man, Dr. Dre was in NWA. But I do want to.
It's like saying, Ozzy's debut album.
Yeah, man, which was knock out of the park, man. Blizzard of Oz, coming out of Sabbath. Same thing. Even Snoop Dogg, which once again kind of coming off the Chronic.
Yes.
Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, like I said, man, I'm a huge fan of that genre, and I mean, these are really, to me, the NWA, Straight Outta Compton, changed as Black Sabbath changed music and metal. And rock and roll,
right? Overall,
NWA did the same thing with hip hop, and then I think even into popular music. Cause I wanted to ask you guys what you think about this theory, because before hip hop, especially Dr. Dre, The Chronic really, and Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album really kind of escalated this. But to me, pop music was always more rock and roll based throughout the 70s and 80s, even into the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think after The Chronic came out, especially The Chronic, it started becoming more hip-hop based.
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys agree with that statement?
I can see your logic there, because I think it is that way.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, once again, man, I take it back to Straight Outta Compton. Now, NWA had released an EP, so I don't really count the EPs, you know what I'm saying, because that can even be kind of looked at the demos and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
Well, if you want to go back to hip-hop, do you remember Two Live Crew?
My God, man, Nasty as They Want to Be.
Right.
Brother,
wow.
That's a good call, Wayne, because you want to talk about changing, because that was out before NWA.
Yeah. When we were playing that in the store, we had to be careful to play that in the store. But when we were playing that in the store, we'd just sit there and look at each other like going, holy Moses.
How are they doing this?
Right.
And well, they got banned.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were the first music group to really be banned like that.
But the thing of it is, again, like I say, we go back to, I got nothing to lose. This is my shot.
Amen.
And they throw it all out there. This is, and another way is trying to say, this is who I am, or who we are.
Who we are.
Yeah.
And I think that was, to me, that Two Live Crew was no better introduction to, this is who we are, people.
And now the whole game is about to change.
Yep. Exactly.
Because, Two Live Crew were more about, they were more dirty. They were more sexual, you know.
Yeah.
Me So Horny, and all these others.
And it was like, and despite what we think about, they were young guys.
Oh, absolutely, man. And
what do young guys think about?
They think about sex, 100%.
And that's it.
Did you ever see the live shows?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, they would straight up get blowjobs and shit on stage, straight up, man. Yeah. I mean, they would bring girls out from the crowd, and they would.
Yeah.
And then right then and there.
And but like I say, that got part of the show business, but I think the music got kind of lost with them. I think it does with a lot of them.
Right.
You talked about Kiss earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss was music, but they had stage presence. But then they got showbiz,
and then they got
I hate to say, I hate to say it like it's a dirty word, but showbiz is a dirty word.
I think even Ozzy went that route later on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it took him a while, and even
definitely in those 90s.
In the 90s, that's what I was kind of talking about. Like,
we discussed that one time when I first got here. With the fact that Ozzy became a punchline.
He did,
and it was so sad because it was Ozzy, for God's sakes.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, another band kind of to steer it out of the hip hop direction. But you do gotta. I especially think in that era, man, most of those debut albums were hits. And in fact, a lot of those second albums that would come out didn't fare quite as well.
Right.
Snoop Dogg never really
followed up with.
Not really, man.
Never.
No.
He became a caricature like a lot of them do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I mean, he's still got some talent, and he's still done some stuff that's good.
Oh, dude, he's an icon at this point.
But he has not really, to me, ever came back up to the doggy style, and just never did. Or what was it, 187?
Yeah, well that was
murder was the case that they gave.
Yeah, murder, which that was a soundtrack.
Right.
That was more of a various artists.
And I like I say, I just wish that they could just sort of keep that spirit of angst going. And I can't use the word again. Damn it.
But no, man. But it absolutely fits for hip hop, especially.
Right. Yeah.
Because when NWA came out with Straight Outta Compton, they took that sort of freedom of speech and freedom to say what you want, and took it from the sexual viewpoint. Which, don't get me wrong, Eazy was very dirty, man. He was right on par with 2 Live Crew and Luke and all those guys. Yeah. But they took it more to the streets. They took them like fuck the police,
right?
All these other things. I mean, they were talking about stuff, man, that kind of like Sabbath would scare you with sort of the occult, even Satanism type themes. NWA would scare you because
realism.
Yeah, man.
The first time I heard that song, Mr. Crowley.
Yes, dude.
God.
Yeah.
One of the best guitar solos of all time is in that song.
I mean, really.
The great Randy Rhoads.
Yeah. Well, keeping in the spirit of angst, 9 Inch Nails Pre-Hate Machine debut.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you, Mike, to maybe give your take on some of the industrial acts.
That's
stuff.
great.
That would be high on the list.
And I
that
think
was so different. Man.
I think Reznor's one of the few that has not fallen into that, showbiz bullshit.
Yeah. Because he's definitely kept it real.
Exactly. And it's not something that I think he sort of consciously does. I think that's just who he is.
Man.
And I agree. That's an awesome album.
Yeah, and it was different. I remember the first time I heard Head Like a Hole. That was the first song.
Right.
That was because it was an MTV song.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Once again, man, it didn't necessarily scare me like Sabbath and NWA did, but it was definitely like, this is new, and I like this, man. This is, but it's different.
Yeah. It's good. It was really good.
Yeah, and that was the thing, but once again, that angst. You got to have that, brother, cause that's what I loved about industrial music. It was so angry and hard and heavy, because a lot of those bands really did, like Metallica, for instance.
Right.
I love Metallica, but man, I'll hold to my point. I think Metallica released 2 great albums, and that was Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning.
Right.
Yeah.
Kill 'Em All was good. I like Kill 'Em All.
Yeah. To me, it's not my favorite.
But no, mine either, man. It's my third. It's my third favorite.
Yeah.
Well, fourth maybe after Injustice for All.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I don't like Injustice for All because of the lack of bass. But I love and hate it. I love hate it.
Right.
Because I do love it, but
Megadeth's debut album, not good.
Not that good, man.
Not good at all.
No, they had to kind of find their,
Peace Sales comes out right after it.
Peace Sales is a masterpiece.
Incredible.
I love Peace Sales, brother.
And the thing about that was, like you say, a lot of these guys that do put all their best on their first one, sometimes, like you say, they haven't found themselves.
You're right. They got to find themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that the record companies have really maybe dropped the ball on here, in the last 20 plus years. Because I was watching, I believe it was David Byrne. Is that his name from Talking Heads?
Yeah.
And
awesome guy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But he was talking about that. He was like, when we first got signed, our first couple albums weren't that great, but the record companies took a risk with us.
Right.
They saw that potential, so they let us come into our own. And now, man, if you don't drop a hit right off the bat,
I know,
you're out of here.
And it's like I say, the world is just too focused on that, and I've talked about this with Jason before about business in general are too quick with the let's get it now. Don't plan for the future. Let's get it now.
Right.
And you can look at somebody who says, man, he's got a lot of talent. I bet he could bring us a couple of hits over the years.
Yes.
Right.
And not worry about, well, he's gone a week and hadn't had a hit.
Yeah, let's cut him.
Yeah.
Let's get him out of here.
Yeah.
You know what? To kind of speak on that point, and even kind of going back, now this was back in the early 90s, but kind of go back into the hip-hop. I was watching the Wu-Tang TV show that was out on Amazon. I think it's a great show, man. I love this show.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it is really good. In my opinion, I think it's some mixed reviews on it. But I didn't know this. The RZA, who was basically the mastermind of Wu-Tang, he's the producer and a musical, man, this guy, as far as that genre goes, there's none better than RZA. There really isn't. But I didn't know this, man. He was actually Prince Rakim, and he had a one-hit wonder.
Yep.
I did not know that, man. I remember that song, but I did not. I didn't connect it, man.
Yep.
But he got dropped from, I believe it was Tommy Boy Records. I think it was Tommy Boy that he was on. But here's the thing, man, kind of going into that aspect. If they would have kept the RZA and let him be him, and Wu-Tang could have got on Tommy Boy, we might be having a whole new conversation right now.
That's
they
true.
dropped him because that hit didn't get over, didn't make the money. Granted, this was back in that time. But really, those 90s is when that kind of started happening.
Right.
You kind of started seeing the transition from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, because if 80s Dr. Dre,
dude, with the Wrecking Crew, man, the one that Eazy-E makes fun of, and dude, yeah, man, he was wearing lipstick, man. Even Eazy says it in real mother hucking G.
Real mother hucking G.
Yeah,
that'll always be that song for me now.
I can't help it either.
Yeah,
it's just so funny, man.
For anybody who's not familiar, man, me and Wayne and Mike, we had a show a while back. And let's just tell that story real quick again.
I was working in Discworks one day, and they had the album out like that, and they spelled motherfucking G with a MUTPHIKIN G.
Yeah.
And the little kid picked it up and looked at me, walked over, and says, "Hey man, what's a real hucking G?" And I just lost myself laughing, and I didn't want to laugh at the little kid.
Right.
But I mean, it was just so daggum funny.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, "Kid," I said, "you are a genius."
We're going to see you on Jeopardy one day.
One of these days, you will be on Jeopardy.
Man, ever since then, that song, which I love that song.
Yeah.
Real mother
hucking G. And I still myself, I'll be driving down the road and I'll say, "You hucker, get out of my way."
Yeah. It definitely made that impact, man.
But it's just like say it was one of those things that just come up and it sticks with you.
It sticks with you through the years.
You can't help it.
But on that track, Eazy talks about 1980s Dr. Dre. He's like, you switch real quick from sucking on Chronic and Big Dicks to wearing lipstick and all this shit, man.
These guys, they fought in their music.
But yes, man. Yeah. And that was the thing about those kind of beef and those diss tracks.
Yeah.
The only bad thing about it, man, it's there for life.
Yeah.
But a lot of the rappers, even in the movie Straight Outta Compton, when Ice Cube dropped the greatest diss track of all time, No Vaseline, on NWA.
Right.
If anybody's out there not heard it, man, it is the diss track of all diss tracks.
Yeah.
But even they were able to come back from that. And Easy's like, look, it's just a diss track. But Jerry Keller, he didn't like it. He was very upset. But Easy, like, it's just a diss track.
Yeah.
But then again, man, we see how diss tracks worked with Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac.
Yeah.
Another great debut was Ready to Die, man, from the Notorious B.I.G. That was Tupacalypse was a good album. It wasn't his best, but
no,
Tupac was great though. I love Tupac, but man, that first one from Notorious B.I.G. Once again, man, it changed the game. It really did.
Both Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. are those two that could have beens that we sit there and think about all the time. I mean, it's like if you want to go way back, it's like a Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about them. Yeah. Think about these guys, and they both. I mean, Holly, was an accident, and theirs was even more tragic because of a homicide. But and you can't think about so many people that have just not been able to see their potential, but you can see it there. I mean, I mean, I don't know if they could ever have done better than what they did. I mean, that could have just been their peak.
It could have been, or they could have went on. I think that they could. I stick with the fact that I think if Tupac and B.I.G. would have lived, I think the whole hip hop game would be complete. Because it sucks now. I don't care, man. I know I'm old. I know I'm jaded. I know I'm stuck in my ways, man. I get that. We all are. But I'm telling you now, man. You listen to some of this crap that's out on hip hop now.
Like the Post Malone.
No.
All right.
No, man.
Hey.
Little Pump.
Hey,
no, man. No. And I've tried, man. I'm like, I don't want to be out of the loop. I want to see it.
Don't hit me. I'm sorry,
It
Daddy.
got serious, man.
sorry,
it got
Daddy.
serious.
Oh man, shit got real.
It got real, man. It got real. No, man. And I don't want to be that old jaded guy because I have tried to check out some of the stuff. And I'm telling you, Brand, after they got killed, tragically died and got their lives cut short, the whole game, I think, man, people got scared. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think a lot of rappers were like,
a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think it took away. The one thing about hip-hop music that I always stick to, man, it was real. Like country. Good country music.
Good country music.
Everybody always wonders, man, why I always say good hip-hop and good country are so similar. Like, man, it's completely opposite spectrums of music.
Right.
But that realness factor is what makes it similar, man. It's about what's going on in your heart and soul, man. You know, your wife leaves, you get drunk, your mama gets run over by a train, you know. All these things. Well, man, same thing going on in the ghettos and stuff with what they're seeing. Like, well, fuck the police, you know.
Oh, let's talk about Eminem's debut album.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was a great album, dude. The Marshall Mathers? You really?
I did not like that first album.
Really, man. I thought it was.
It was
the
okay.
second
I
album.
thought it was really good.
I thought it was okay, and it was a good introduction. But I didn't like he says. I didn't think it was that good.
The Marshall Mathers album?
Yeah.
No,
Really?
I didn't. I was not a fan of it. Still not. That second album,
what was
eclipsed it.
Which one was the second one again?
Yeah, he did Marshall Mathers. Oh God, wasn't it? Without Me.
Yeah. No, that wasn't on the. That was the second album.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. We're on the same page.
That
okay,
was that eclipsed that first album.
I thought that was a good album too. I thought the first album was on par, man. If not a little bit better.
I thought he really found himself. I think he went from Dre and everybody's kind of a little ribbing, you know.
He's a white dude. I was right there with him too, guys. I was the same way.
We're going to give him this album. It's going to be a little silly.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a rip.
But Dr. Dre's on it, though.
Yeah,
you know,
he
so
is.
right there gave it credibility.
Well,
But that second album, that was him.
I can see where you're going.
He got away from that kind of that silly, hi, my name is hi.
Yeah.
Got away from that.
I like that, man. I thought it was a good hook, man. I always like that. You know,
I think he talks. You speak more for what I feel about it because, like I say, I think the second album definitely was more of his point of view, more of his actual talent, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, like you say, when Dre and him were, sort of like trying to be influenced by Dre, I don't think he could be. I mean, I think he could, but I don't think it was like a good influence as far as the way his music went.
Right. Like I said, I think that first album was really good. But now I want to switch genres back into hard rock for a little bit.
Let's do.
Because there's two bands that I still want to talk about. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start with the second of the two. You know, the first one being one of the number ones, if not the number one. Skid Row, man.
Yeah.
I thought that Skid Row debut.
That was a great debut.
Song for song, brother. That
was good.
Solid.
It's solid, brother. Yeah. I listened to a lot of that album. I mean, I listened to that. It's definitely on my playlist.
Right.
Let's put it like that. Every song.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Skid Row fan, but I see what you're saying. That's a good first album and a good introduction to the group.
Very, yes, man.
I think the same thing happened with them. I love the album. I think it's a great debut album. It is definitely a pop metal album.
I disagree with that, Mike.
I'm going to say it was because it's definitely an MTV album. Their second album was their grow up album.
Was heavy as hell, man.
That was an incredible
album.
Slave
to the Grind is heavy.
I like
as hell,
that term, pop metal. That
is MTV metal.
MTV metal. That's a good one.
Necessarily agree. Now I remember you absolutely. But the rest of that album, man, it's heavy as hell, brother. I mean,
it's heavy in a pop metal sense.
Now I remember you absolutely. Yeah. That was okay. We got to have an MTV song. Okay. Yeah, but you also had big. Well, that was never on the MTV either.
No.
But an 18 in Life, yeah. Shut up, Mike. But now I will agree. 100. Now I still love that album, man. Every song, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree, though. Slave to the Grind, that is a heavy fucking album. I can cuss again, man. That is a heavy fucking album.
Right.
I mean, Monkey Business, Slave to the Grind, even Quit Saying Jesus, which was probably their ballad on there, was still heavy as shit.
Right. I mean,
Wasted Time.
Wasted Time was kind of their
was their ballad off of that,
and that was still heavy as shit.
It was orchestrated. I mean, that whole album was just composed, and it was put together in such organic. Just
spit it out, Mike. Spit it out.
They grew so much from that first album to that album, and it's amazing.
And I think also, guys,
but they couldn't recapture that afterwards.
No. Well, Sebastian Bach left the band
in a bottle
thereafter, man. It really was, and I think a lot of that has to do with Metallica, guys, because that's really when Metallica started coming up, and I think they're like, hey, man, a really heavy band can become mainstream,
right?
And I think Skid Row took some of that Metallica influence for Slave to the Grind, and I think Slave to the Grind, dude, I'll say those two albums are on par for me, man. I love them both for slightly different reasons.
I didn't think Slave to the Grind was a poppy album.
It wasn't. No, I agree. I think it was a straight up, like I said, Wasted Time was probably the closest to a pop song on there, and it was heavy as shit. Quit Saying Jesus was heavy as shit, which I think was almost like their kind of like their 18 in Life, maybe. Not necessarily a ballad, but definitely more radio friendly.
Right, more radio friendly and more of, I don't want to use the sort of sappy term, a message song.
Sure.
But it had words in it that you could sort of, I see what they're saying.
It was kind of for the, let's just put it out there, it's kind of for the chicks.
Exactly.
It is what it is, man.
Hey, I got nothing against that.
I ain't either, brother. And the other band, how can we go talking about debut albums without talking about Appetite for Destruction?
There you go.
Wow.
I mean, come on, guys.
There you go.
I mean,
that right there.
I mean, what else to say, man?
What else to say? With Guns N' Roses, that was just, you sit there and you say, holy crap.
Holy shit, man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that coming out at that time was just pure rock and roll.
Yeah, man.
Coming back.
That's exactly what it was. Pure rock and roll.
And it had that heavy influence. It was hard rock.
It wasn't makeup. It wasn't theater.
No.
It wasn't glam.
Even though Axl Rose's hair in that in Welcome to the Jungle video, he helped kill some of the ozone just in that video alone.
A little bit.
But he changed it up after that.
Yeah.
Dude, his hair was hot as shit,
I know,
man.
I know. And I'm wondering how much of that was studio and how much of that was record labels saying, let's do this. And you can't always judge, by how much the actual appearance of the band is based on, what they are.
Yeah.
Because there's very few new bands back in the day that would be able to stand up there as they were.
Exactly, man. And but GNR was so good so quick. They got to be themselves.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
They and just just the power of it, just the musicianship,
dude, come on,
the
man.
singing. I mean, the vocals were just incredible.
The presence, the different characters of the band / Axl Duff. Come on, man.
I mean, just incredible.
They were all their own individual, and they were man, when I first started listening to rock and roll music, I always say my two biggest influences were Ozzy.
Yeah.
Because and man, these albums run kind of side by side.
Right.
But I got into Ozzy first because of the Road Warriors and wrestling. Man, that's what really turned me on to rock and roll music. And I'd already been listening to Skinner, but they were more in the Southern rock, But I remember this girl I went to school with. Her name was Christy. Man, I've known her since 7th grade. She was like, "Hey, dude, have you heard Guns N' Roses?" I'm like, "No." She was like, "Here, you can borrow my tape." Cassette tape. I was in 7th grade.
Hey.
And I was like, man, this album, the cover is cool as shit, man. The cross with the skulls on it. Dude, I'll never forget that first time I popped in my little jam box, had a little one-speaker boom box.
Because you were cool.
Because I was the coolest kid, before the big stereo system. And I remember, like, that that first little Welcome to the Jungle, I'm like, what is this? Oh, my God, man.
Yeah.
And then that scream in the beginning.
Oh, my God.
Hooked. Hooked. I've always said, man, they should have sold that album by the gram because it was more addictive than crack, man. I mean, because my first hit, brother, I was done.
Yeah.
And then, you know, kind of talking about the MTV songs, they had Sweet Child of Mine, which was for the women, but it was still, it's my least favorite Guns N' Roses song of all time.
Paradise City was the least favorite.
I still love Paradise City.
Really?
Man. I still love Paradise City, yes.
I like Paradise City. I can't help it. They're just, like I say, it's just the silliness of it. It's a silly song.
It's epic, too, man.
But it is epic, but it's, I mean, I'm sitting there, and I can't listen to it without sort of just going,
It's got a little bit of cheese on it, but I like a little bit of cheese, man.
But I can see what you're saying on that, Mike, because it's those two are the farthest away from what I think they truly are.
Yeah,
really.
agreed.
But I like them both, actually, kind of.
Yeah. I Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise City. If it came on the radio right now, I'm turning it up.
Yeah.
I remember when I got the first single from Guns N' Roses, "Welcome to the Jungle."
Yeah.
Backed up with Mr. Brownstone.
Mr. Brownstone.
Yeah.
I heard Mr. Brown because I had heard, you know, "Welcome to the Jungle" to death. It was radio played. It was video.
It's in movies.
It's everything.
Yeah. It's in that Dirty Harry movie.
Oh, that
with Jim Carrey.
That was so silly.
Oh my God,
that was
man!
so stupid,
dude. If you haven't seen that, go YouTube that. It's worth it.
It's so stupid.
Worth it.
But Mr. Brownstone, I listened to Mr. Brownstone. I was like, oh my God,
that one, man.
And then I got the album, and then I heard stuff like
"It's So Easy."
It's So Easy.
Yeah.
Rocket Queen.
My favorite song on the album.
Absolutely my favorite song.
Absolutely best song on the album. My favorite song is Rocket Queen. And it's a great one to end the album with.
Right, exactly.
My Michelle.
Yeah. My Michelle was great. And all these subject matter, you know, we were talking about NWA and some of these hip-hop genres, how they had dark subject matter. Brother, you didn't get much darker than My Michelle or Mr. Brownstone.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, even It's So Easy, man. There's, which is one of the most rock and roll songs on the album, straight up rock and roll songs.
Which is hard. It's hard to be have a message like that in a song and not make it sappy. And they did not.
And they did it, man.
And they did not.
Or make it just sound doom and gloom as hell, man. They kept it. I always said, guys, and I think we've all talked about this live performance they had on MTV from the Ritz, live in the Ritz. Brother, I will put that performance up with 1986, 87 Guns N' Roses. I will put that up against any band, any era, any time.
Right.
And I'm talking about Sabbath, Skinner, Van Halen. I mean, the mighty Van Halen.
Yeah.
I'll put that line up at that time in life against anybody.
Right.
Brother, that energy. I just watched that concert a couple months ago. I'll put it on periodically.
Right.
It's still, man. I mean, those guys were on it.
Sometimes just watching an older concert of a band that you love, it really just brings out, because the live version, it's just sometimes it's just so incredible.
Yes.
Sometimes it gives you that little bit of boost of energy that you like.
Yeah. And when you can actually feel the energy of the band and the crowd come through the video, man, that's hard to top. Bro.
Yeah. It is.
That's hard, man.
It really is.
Yeah. Man, I mean, where do we go after GNR, brother? You know, guys, I know
we got to talk about their counterparts, Motley Crue.
Hey, man, I thought, what was their first album live?
Too Fast
for Love, man. I love it, man.
That was, I think, at their peak.
See, now I think Shout at the Devil was
Shout at the Devil was an incredible album, and it was much different from Too Fast for Love.
It was more polished.
It was definitely more polished.
Definitely.
I like that raw of the Motley Crue from Too Fast for Love. I like that. But from then on, it just seemed
poppier and poppier.
That's the main issue I had with Motley Crue. Wasn't a big fan, but they wanted to be raw, but they just didn't want to go that far.
Yeah, it was Motley Crue.
They would run right up to the line.
They walked the line, man.
Yeah.
They really did, between glam metal and like just straight up hard heavy metal, like a Metallica or GNR.
Yeah,
it's like but I love Motley Crue, man, and I love them really, man. I love the stuff they put out recently. I still think they can put out
some of their stuff
man.
recently is. I've heard it. I'm not I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, that's awful. I'm going to say, oh, it's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's not on my playlist.
No, definitely not on mine.
You know how I feel about Vince Neil. So.
I know, man. I know. Well, man, another band that Mikey absolutely loves to death, we ought to talk about a little bit, is maybe the first Led Zeppelin album. It was all right. I liked it. I like Zeppelin, man.
I love Zeppelin.
Yeah, man. Mikey, you love them, don't you, brother?
Ooh. Boy, howdy, do I.
Broy's in the house today.
That's another live singer.
Look at how happy he is.
Yeah, man, you gotta know this one we need video right now.
That's another live singer I can do without.
I think Plant was great, man. I do. I think Plant was great, man. No. It got real again. Well, guys, let me ask you guys. I know we were planning on playing some music, but I don't even know, man, if we ought to put any music on the show, guys. What do y'all think, man? I mean,
hey, this is your chicken. You fuck it however you want to.
I say, man, I don't even want
Wow.
You say fuck it or pluck it?
Oh, well, okay.
I'm sitting there going,
That's
okay.
right.
I don't know, man. I think, man, we ought to just keep going a little bit, man, and maybe because I don't know really where much to go after we talk about GNR and some of these other
Oh,
groups.
yeah, I could say Tool.
Okay, well, see, now, man, I'm not that big of a fan, man.
Really?
So talk about it, bro.
Tool's their debut album, which was their debut full album.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't the EP that would.
Which I had the EP, yeah.
Opiate, yeah.
Right.
That was released, which is good too, but it's a lot of live stuff.
You're right.
That full and the undertow is still, to me to this day, I will listen to that thing and just go back to that. Wow, that feeling.
When I first listened to Tool, when we had them in the shop, I'm sitting there and it grabs you. It really does.
Yeah.
To me, it did.
It's new. It was a different thing, man.
And I'm sitting there and we would listen to it. And excuse me, I'm sorry, but we would listen to it. And and I could see Chad over there just going, yeah, this is
yeah.
I could use Chad as kind of a barometer because he was a lot. Well, all right, he was a huge amount years younger than me, but I could see.
You're talking about Jefferson, right? Yeah. Our good friend Chad,
But he could, I could sort of judge. I could like stuff, but I mean, I couldn't tell what a lot of the young people would like.
Right.
But Chad, I could see his mind sort of working. Yeah, that's good.
And Chad
and
is
it really does grab you. And Chad knows music.
Yeah, I was just going to say he is a music connoisseur, brother. Except he never got into Warren, man.
No, never did.
Me and him. In fact, what did he? Because we still keep in touch.
Yeah.
I made him a Warren. He was like, man, make me a Warren greatest hits. He's like, I want to see what you and Wayne keep talking about.
Right.
Because he respects our, taste in music as well. He was like, brother, I think our musical tastes take a hard left turn at Warren Zevon Boulevard or something like that. And I'm like, man, hey, brother, it's all good, man. And he gave it a chance.
He did. And you like to say, and he was really open to suggestions because when I would come in, to work and Chad would be working there, he would be playing my Robert Johnson CDs, the old blues guy, because I got him into that. And he just was fascinated by that, which, just if we want to go back a century, Robert Johnson's debut album, which was his only album because he died right shortly thereafter, was incredible. I mean, just incredible. If you've not, I know this is kind of bringing out something obscure to some people, but Robert Johnson was the legendary blues player and singer. Mm-hmm. And if you ever get a chance to listen, I mean, it's just heart-wrenching music. I mean, I love there's not a song on there that I really just couldn't sit and listen to all day.
And the thing about that album, now I haven't listened to the entire album. Obviously, I'm familiar with Robert Johnson, but, just kind of put it out there, too. Robert Johnson has that kind of mythology.
The mythology,
of selling his soul to the devil, man. They say, the song Crossroads.
Hellhound on My Tail.
Yes, man.
I mean, it's just unbelievable music. And it's just like you say, the mythology also just brings it up to a whole new level. It's a great story.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's almost that Sabbath level, of there's demonic influence with this thing. The story goes Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil, met him at the crossroads. The devil tuned his guitar, and then he put out this incredible blues music.
Yeah,
which we all know blues brought on rock and roll, brought on metal, which eventually brought on hip hop.
Right.
It all comes back to the blues.
It all does, and it's just like I say, it's just such a great story. I'm sorry to sort of throw that out there.
Man, no, that's what we do.
But it's just one of those things where, like I say, we're talking debut albums, and that was his only album. The legendary picture of him sitting in the hotel room with a bottle of whiskey at his feet, one old microphone, and his guitar,
acoustic,
his acoustic guitar, and it was just the legend that came out of that was just astounding.
That picture's iconic.
It is.
Even people that maybe don't know who he is, I know everybody has seen that picture at some point in their life. Well, man, we were talking about debut albums, and we were also talking about Robert Johnson, who only had one.
Right.
We got to bring up Mother Love Bone.
Yes.
Right.
God, man, we bring up Mother Love Bone as much as we possibly can on this show. In fact, I just turned my friend Jeremy, who is a huge music fan as well. We were just hanging out last weekend, and he had heard Mother Love Bone and heard of them. His wife, Trina, has like, no, who is that? Brother, you got to pull it up. So we played Chloe Dancer Crown of Thorns, and she's like, oh, man, I really love this, Dude, you talk once again, man, every song on that album. Yeah. Now, granted, MLB, just like, some other bands like Tool, you just brought them up, had EPs. Right. So did Mother Love Bone. But I don't really count the NWA same way.
Right.
I don't really count the EPs. I count the full-length LPs.
Right.
And, man, Apple for Mother Love Bone, every song, man, every song. I've always said it, and I know I've said it with you guys. We've said it on the show before. In my opinion, the greatest tragedy in music was Mother Love Bone, because they were the band that never was, that should have been.
Yeah. Right.
If Andrew Wood would have lived, he would be up there with Axl Rose right now as far as one of the best overall. Same with Freddie Mercury, same with all these other great frontmen. Queen. Another great debut album, man.
Another great debut album. I think they, for the simple fact that they had a life after, sort of makes it not as tragic as Mother Love Bone.
Exactly right.
But because
they attained their stardom.
Exactly, they get the respect they are due.
Right, and a lot of
Mother Love Bone, like you say, does not.
No, and people are like, who are that? Who is that?
Who is that? That's what you get a lot.
And it's like, man, it's the greatest band that never was.
Exactly, and I think that's such one of those musical tragedies that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
What might have been.
Yeah, because I think, man, you look at some other tragedies in music. Obviously, the Skinner plane crash.
Right.
Obviously,
Skinner.
Man. I mean, who knows what Ronnie Van Zant could have went on to do.
Really? Yeah. And I think he would have. I think Van Zant was so influential. He could have also brought along other artists.
Well, he was going to produce the first Molly Hatchet album. That was going to happen. That was in the works. In fact, they said the first time Danny Joe Brown, the original singer for Molly Hatchet, had met Ronnie Van Zant to talk about it, they almost got in a fist fight, because that's how redneck they were. But they were both from Jacksonville, Florida, from the streets. But they said Ronnie really wanted to work with him, and he was slated to produce that first album. And that was going to be Ronnie's first production of him behind the scenes, behind the console. He was going to do a country album. That was in the works.
I could see that. I don't think I would have enjoyed that.
I don't know, man.
I don't think I would have enjoyed that, because I like the fact that he had the southern rock feel, and it was rock.
And it's hard rock.
Anybody who says it's country rock, it's bull.
They don't get it, man.
Right.
They don't get it. No.
But and I like I say, I've these people who cross genres so much, I'm not a big fan of that. Either play what you can play or don't play
or
at
step
all.
out, man. Yeah.
And now Springsteen did that new album I was talking to you about, Western Stars.
Right.
He does kind of a song. I guess you consider it kind of a country sounding song.
Well, that's okay. I mean, if you want to,
but it sounds awesome. It's one of the best songs he's done in years. Right. I mean, just as far as the sound and the message to it and everything like that, I really do like it.
But now, Wayne, one thing I'm going to kind of devil advocate with you as far as Van Zant putting out a country album. I'm with you, man. And first and foremost, I totally agree, man. Leonard Skinner's not country rock.
No.
Anybody that says Leonard Skinner's country rock obviously doesn't know what country or rock music is.
Right.
They were actually a hard rock band.
Right.
I mean, these guys came out. They did Freebird in '73, man. Nobody was playing music like that. Come on, man.
Right.
That's hard. Yeah. That's hard. It had a southern twang to it, and it had some southern influence.
Again, southern rock.
Southern rock, man. Which Van Zant actually didn't like that term.
And I understand why he didn't.
Me too.
But he wanted to be rock.
He just wanted to be a hard rock band, which they were like he liked the Who. He liked those Bad Company. He liked those hard English bands, British bands.
You can sort of understand that, but like I say, I don't know about the what do you think? The country album would have been good?
I do, and well, first of all, me, I love Van Zant, so I'm kind of on the tape that he could have farted on tape and it would have been a hit. I mean, I just okay. I mean, really, man, hey, that's a Van Zant fart, man. That's good shit right there. That's going platinum, baby, and I mean it. So you got to. I'm biased. Wayne, man, we need video. Mike, we really got to go this just to see Wayne's face over here, man. But really, man, I am from that train of thought, man, and I also think that
the Brown train.
train
Train
roll on.
Yeah.
But no, man.
Was that a beer or bean fart? I don't know.
That was a Jack Daniels if it's Ronnie Van Zant, buddy.
Oh God.
But no, man, I think because Van Zant, because the plane crash was in '77,
Right.
So that was about the time the outlaw country music with Waylon Willie. That's when it really started taking off.
Well, and like I say, if it had been with Willie, Waylon, and stuff like that, I could see that.
I think it could have hit, man.
Because I loved Willie and Waylon. And the outlaw genre of country music to me was, like you say, more of the real country.
It was, man. It meant something.
It was Texas based, not Tennessee based.
Right.
Yeah.
But it had the realness to it.
Yes.
Now I've been a big fan of Willie, Waylon, and all those guys like that. Chris Christopherson,
Merle Haggard, George Jones, man.
Did you see the documentary they had on PBS about country music? Ken Burns.
No, I haven't, but I know what you're talking about. I have not
It was
watched
a pretty good one. I mean, it wasn't as good to me. It wasn't as good as his one on baseball or the Civil War, but it was good.
Right.
But the thing of it is, I know so much about music. Most of the stuff was like, oh, okay.
I already know this. Yeah.
The one thing I did not know that they brought out was that when Merle Haggard did "Okie from Muskogee" about the place where we don't smoke marijuana.
Yeah.
And they had they had the guy from Merle's band. He said he smoked pot all the goddamn time,
man. Yeah.
And he said, and I did not know this. And again, like I said, I was kind of shocked. But they said the main pill pusher in Nashville was Roger Miller.
Really?
They said he was high all the damn time.
I would have never known that.
And he said the problem, and they said the joke around town was with Roger Miller was he had to keep his pills in one pocket and his change in the other pocket because one night he swallowed 35 cents. I mean, and that was the main revelation I got from that whole documentary, man.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite country drug stories was they had Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings doing an interview. No, I'm sorry. It was Waylon and Johnny Cash.
Right.
And they were doing an interview together. And this was, probably in the late 80s, maybe in the 90s, maybe. They'd already come up. They were already both superstars.
Right.
It was obviously before both of them had passed away. Well, back in the early days, they were roommates.
Right.
And, man, could you imagine that scenario? In fact, they told a story where Johnny got so trashed that he tried to cook biscuits and gravy, and they said he had gravy all over him, and the whole place was trashed. Just that mental picture of Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings having their own apartment. It's just like how to love it.
That was probably about around the time they took that picture with the birthday cake as well.
Probably, man, probably.
He's hiding in the bushes.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd love been a fly on the wall for that, brother.
There was a group of there was a guy who I don't know if you know the name Carl Perkins.
Yeah.
Carl was big friends with Johnny Cash, and he was the one that did Blue Suede Shoes before Elvis did it. But he got in a terrible car accident and couldn't promote it, so Elvis took it and made it a hit
and ran with it. Right.
And Perkins' his career was just sidetracked after that, but he still kept going on tour with Johnny Cash, and they were in New York City one time, and Perkins wore a toupee, and he had had since for years, and he was running around the hotel in New York one time raising hell because he thought somebody had stolen his toupee. Well, he goes into Johnny Cash's room. There's Johnny Cash with his foot up and the toupee on his foot, and he's talking to it like it's Carl. And they got into a fist fight.
Holy shit.
And he said, "Don't you never touch my damn hair again."
And Johnny's having a straight up conversation.
Johnny's just sitting there going, "So, Carl, you think we're going to go out and have dinner after the show?" And
you're awfully quiet tonight, Carl.
And they said Johnny just did
kind of smell funny.
Yeah, Johnny did shit like that to him all the time.
Well, man, the story I was going to tell you about Waylon and Johnny, man, this one, and like I say, they're both interviewing and they're laughing and they're both older, so they kind of got that old timey nostalgia talk going on. He's like, "Yeah, man. Well, we used to have to hide each other or our drugs from each other, and apparently they had an air conditioning unit. Well, come to find out, they were hiding their drugs in the same air conditioner, but one on one side and one on the other. But come to find out, he was like, yeah, Johnny kept stealing my drugs, so I was putting them in the air conditioner. And Johnny's like, yeah, and Waylon was stealing my drugs, and I put them in the same air conditioner. But on the other side, we had no idea that we were hiding our drugs from each other in the same place." Like I said, brother, to be a fly on the wall.
Oh, man.
I mean, just that's when it was so, God, man, once again, you had the characters, and they were real. I mean, it was who they were, man. And they were really rebels, man. I mean, they were really outlaws. They really were.
They were. And then you just, like you say, to be a fly on the wall or be a friend of theirs, to experience some of that must have been amazing.
Just to live in that time. And, you know, one more Waylon story we'll tell just real quick that I just find crazy, man, was he had I think it was a pound of cocaine sent to the recording studio. Yeah, he was on the FBI watch list, obviously.
Right.
But they said that the FBI raided the studio that he got the cocaine sent to. Well, he even said in an interview, he said he did some the first time. They said, well, you like it? Well, he's like, I love it. He was like, give me some. He's like, well, how much you want? You want a gram? You want an 8-ball? He's like, I want a pound of the shit.
No, hell.
I mean, damn, dude. I mean, what the hell, man? And this,
Yeah.
But they said he got like maybe a pound or so sent to the studio.
I don't even get a pound of donuts.
No shit, man.
No.
Could you imagine? I
get a quarter pounder.
Yeah, man, and I'm full.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even want all the fries, man. What? A pound of cocaine, Waylon Jennings, man. God bless him, man. God rest his soul. Great music too, one of my all-time favorites. But they said when he got the coke sent to the studio, the engineer was trying to stall because they were recording. They were recording the album, so the engineer turned on the mic and they all heard it in the studio. They're like, they heard the FBI, so they say Waylon went and grabbed it. Well, anyway, the FBI comes crashing through, and they find Waylon in the bathroom, and the toilet's flushing, and they're like, what? The FBI said something. Waylon Jennings like, you ain't gonna give me today, you son of a bitch, as the cocaine was going down the toilet. They wrote a song called Outlaw Bit. If you ever hear the song Outlaw Bit by Waylon Jennings, that's what it's from.
Wow.
But they said the FBI got in there and he said, not today, you son of a bitch, as the cocaine was being flushed down the toilet. Tell me now why they called that shit Outlaw Country.
There you go. That's it right there.
There it is. Not only did they say fuck Nashville, which they did.
Yeah.
Straight up, they legitimately said, we're doing it with our bands, we're doing it the way we want to do it. They were also getting pounds of cocaine sent to the recording studio.
Hey, you know,
and that's why the music was so good,
right
guys.
on.
That's the times they lived in, man.
And it was great, man. And it reflected in their music, brother. And that's why, because it was no studio gangsters, as Eazy-E would say back in the day, man. This is real, man. And that's why hip hop and country, I will always say, are very closely related, man, when it's real and when it's good.
Well, that's one of those exact stories, like you say, that just sort of tells the whole story.
It adds to that legend and that mythology of these guys, man.
I love that.
Well, guys, I tell you what, man, Mike, you probably need to open up your store.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, you
have a business to run.
That pesky day job you got.
Yeah.
You know, I know what you mean, man. That pesky day job gets in the way sometimes. But Wayne, thank you again for coming in, brother.
It's been a pleasure. It always is.
It's been too long.
Man. It has. And like I said, man,
it's been way too long.
We're going to try to get you in here again next month, man. We want you in here as much as we can get you.
We're going to be covering the Christmas albums next time.
Hey, man, we should.
Get the hell out.
We should, man. What? Why not, man? You don't like the Christmas albums?
All right, write them down.
All right.
Okay.
Fuck.
But now, Jason, anybody like...
There are good Christmas songs.
Well, no, wait, just a minute.
No, they're not.
As someone who has worked in retail and had to listen to Christmas music from the start of November to the end of December, there is no such thing as a good Christmas song.
That one U2 song's pretty good.
No.
You too.
No.
Oh shit. Never mind. Okay. What about their first album? Okay, we're out. Wayne, once again, thank you, sir.
Hey guys,
thank you, man.
Seriously, I appreciate you bringing me in. This is so much fun.
Mikey, brother, you got anything you want to end this with, man?
Okay.
You good? All right.
Got another joke for us?
Yeah. Well, no. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely getting an R-rated for this one. Anyway, guys, again, we appreciate we appreciate you all. Until next week, y'all have a good one.
And not only that, David, I understand we're right at the end of our program.
No, we have got to go.
This has been a great event.
There's some people out there that hate us for this.